Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode from MKsEnglish.com. I'm Mark, and today we're going to do a business episode. This episode is perfect for anyone working in an international office or hoping to do business in English. Today, we're talking about how to lead a business meeting in English. Leading a meeting can feel stressful, even in your native language, trust me. But in a different language like English, it can feel extra challenging. Don't worry though. By the end of today's episode, you'll have useful expressions and tips to help you sound confident and professional. So, the first thing a good meeting leader does is set the tone. This means greeting everyone, welcoming them, and explaining the purpose of the meeting. Here are some useful phrases for that. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today's meeting. One more time. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today's meeting. Another one is, the purpose of today's meeting is to discuss. Once more. The purpose of today's meeting is to discuss. And one more final useful phrase. By the end of this meeting, I hope we can decide on. One more time. By the end of this meeting, I hope we can decide on. Notice how clear and polite these phrases are. You're showing respect, but you're also guiding people from the very beginning. Next, it's important to outline the agenda. You know, the list of topics you will cover. For example, you can say, first, we'll look at last month's results. First, we'll look at last month's results. Another thing you could say is, next, we'll discuss the new marketing plan. Once more. Next, we'll discuss the new marketing plan. And lastly, you could say, finally, we'll decide on the budget. Finally, we'll decide on, in this case, the budget. Using first, next, and finally is a simple but powerful way to keep the meeting organized. Now, one of the hardest parts of leading a meeting is keeping the discussion on track. People often go off topic, or sometimes one person might talk too much, right? Well, here are some polite but firm phrases you can use. That's an interesting point, but let's come back to it later. That's an interesting point, but let's come back to it later. Number 2, let's try to stay focused on today's topic. Once more, let's try to stay focused on today's topic. And lastly, can we hear from someone who hasn't spoken yet? Once more, can we hear from someone who hasn't spoken yet? Notice that these phrases are polite, but they also keep control. Now, just like teaching English, good leaders don't do all the talking. They invite other people to share their ideas. Here are some expressions you can use. What do you think about this, Sarah? What do you think about this, Yuki? Does anyone else have a different opinion? Once more. Does anyone else have a different opinion? And finally, could you explain your idea in a little more detail? Could you explain your idea in a little more detail? This shows that you value everyone's input, and it also helps make the meeting more productive. Now, at the end of a meeting, it's important to summarize the key points and make sure everyone knows the next steps. For example, so to summarize, we need to agree on 3 things. So to summarize, we need to agree on 3 things. John will prepare the sales report by Friday. John will prepare the sales report by Friday. Let's meet again next Monday to check progress. Let's meet again next Monday to check progress. And then finally, to close the meeting politely, you could say, "Thank you for your time today." Thank you for your time today. Or, I appreciate everyone's contributions. I appreciate everyone's contributions. Okay, let's quickly review the key steps to leading a meeting in English. First, set the tone with a polite welcome. Second, outline the agenda clearly. Third, keep the discussion on track. Fourth, encourage participation. And fifth, summarize and close with next steps. If you can do these 5 things, your meetings will be smoother and more professional. Okay, here's a quick challenge for you. Imagine you're leading a team meeting. Try saying out loud a welcoming sentence, one agenda point, and a closing summary. For example, "Good morning, everyone. Today we'll discuss the new project. To summarize, we've decided to start next week. Thank you all for your ideas." I recommend practicing this a few times until it feels natural. Okay? So if you enjoyed today's episode and want to practice more business English, join me online at MKsEnglish.com. We can role play real meetings together so you'll feel more confident in your workplace. Thanks for listening and see you in the next episode.